As you know, we begin our first session of today. MG sir will be conducting the session on libraries discovery and the catalog, scale, workflow, and tension. So I'll just stop sharing my screen
Yeah.
and let you share yours. Also, before MG sir starts, sincere request to all participants: when you are not speaking, please keep yourselves on mute. I mean, it happened a few times yesterday when there was random sounds when the speaker was talking. So let's try and avoid that. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
I can see your screen clearly.
Yeah. So, welcome to the fourth day of the international workshop on designing digitally robust digital libraries, jointly run by AICT and the Geo Institute. And we are very happy to see that participation is going on quite actively. So this presentation, as I was mentioning, I'm going to give a brief overview of how libraries have been using technologies, searching technologies, discovering technologies, how the technologies have been able to bring in rational, radical changes in the service components and the service aspects, the scope of services, etc. Especially with the advent of the internet and the World Wide Web in particular. And then we are looking at the scale, which is to mention the scope and the workflow, like what kind of activities are happening from end to end, and the attention is actually we are looking at from the user's perspective. How the users have been progressing or changing their behavior as time goes by, as technologies progress, how their attention pattern has been changing, etc. So, without much of introduction, I'm here to say that the information, the context of information use and creation has changed. So what I'm here trying to underline here is that there was a time when information was created in print format. I mean, I'm talking the recent past, maybe 30, 40 years. Predominantly, information was created and published in either a journal or a book or a report or a case study kind of thing, or working reports or working papers or sort of things. What may predominantly as journal articles and books. I mean, there are various different categories of these things, but in a larger this thing, two different. And then this has changed. That I have already explained earlier. Like information was being generated, created in the print format, and then as and when it was required, it was being converted into electronic format. So print first and electronic second. That was the norm. And then when technology, I was telling the business process engineering of information production changed. Information started getting produced by default digital, electronic, and then as and when it is required only now getting printed. So electronic first and print if required, print on demand otherwise. So that is what exactly is. So this also had a very interesting aspect in the library perspective. Like the distribution of this information was physical, like books were being exchanged, the journals were being issued and returned like that. But of late, everything is now digital. Distribution is now digital. And physical has got its own lot of limitations, but distribution in digital doesn't have much of technology limitations. Then the limitations are only policy with respect to copyright, with respect to IPR, with respect to so many other internal management policies, etc. A very interesting paradox which I would like to draw your kind attention is one. There was a time when resources were scarce. And that time, attention was abundant. People were having so much of patience, Himalayan patience. There was not no much of compliance, gambling, or what is called allegations against the librarian, etc. So people were very much patient. They were able to wait impatiently or patiently. And when resources are abundant, attention became very scarce. So this is actually the paradox now. So of late, when everything started getting published in electronic format, and as I was mentioning, the economics of information has changed. The reach and richness, that is what I would like to. The reach and richness of information is was very much there, inversely proportional in the case of physical resources when the resources were scarce. But when it became abundant and became digital, what happened is the economics of information also, that is reach and richness, also has been equalized. That means when you have one resource in your server, that resource can be served across the country, across the whole globe, across the entire world. There is no not even a single pixel you are going to lose or miss while distributing it across the. So the reach and richness is that earlier model was, very successfully broken. And then you see the workflows that was happening in the libraries. Within the library, the services were built around the library. That was, the workflows were around the library. But when it became outside the library, maybe within the institution or within a small group of institutions. Let's take the case of a university, the university library. It was within the university library. When it came out of the library, it was within the whole university, which was outreaching to all the departments and various other functional units of the university. So the workflow started going outside, outreaching. So services were built around those workflows. Now it is actually, we are talking about the internet, outreach. That means the whole world is within our reach in terms of the networks. So services are again, in a very broad sense, built around such workflows. Now there is ample opportunities for this catalog data for multiple users, and also you don't have to always resort to or depend on what is called manually created metadata. You can go for free test searches. And yesterday, Dr. Sreen was throwing so much of insights into how the automatic metadata extraction using artificial intelligence and machine learning, etc., can be done without much of, and it is getting perfected so much. And the other kind of services that can be using catalog data can be resource guides, can be reading lists, can be citation management, or social reading sites, etc. And then as time passed by, for a period of a couple of more decades, by 2010 plus or 2005 plus, we started finding a new model, which is actually in between. I could have introduced federated search as also, but federated search is also sort of discovery only, but not the web scale discovery service. When I was telling that search and retrieval to discovery, again, it is all about unshackling of the search. As Avitraji was mentioning, that we are not worried about only keywords, we are not worried about only the Boolean logics, which library community fraternity was actually holding it for ages. For 50 years, we were very satisfied, very contented using that. We are very interesting people. We use Boolean technologies. Boolean technology is not a big deal now. In fact, we are in the era of post-Boolean probabilistic searches, era, which the Google and the kind of services are very much making use of. So we are into the discovery part. Discovery is a very overarching concept. It's all about how meticulously, how excellently you can discover from the kind of available data or concepts or any kind of material which is not even text, non-textual also. How can you discover the content in a meaningful way? So the scope of the services has been progressing or getting transformed, getting scope-wise increased to the within the institute to the network level. So the institution scale to the network web scale. So that is what we nowadays use the word web scale discoveries. That means the catalog in a 21st century avatar is web scale discovery. The catalog, which was institutional scale, is now in the network scale. So there's a diverse between, you can see there's a diverse between the limited discovery and the seamless, mobility of the delivery of this particular discovered material, which you have got it from your backend server. What I mean here is that you have a server which contains, or you have a series of servers, a network of servers, which has got the material available in different locations, distributed and scattered, but it has been discovered. It has been discovered, maybe federated, maybe skill discovery. So it has been discovered and it has been brought to your front end. Now the front end delivery can be again revolutionized, again made it very, 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 multi-channel. Like it can go to palm top, it can go to a desktop, it can go to what is called a tab. So whatever way you feel like you can channelize. So the delivery and the discovery has been successfully dealing. So that is what I am trying to underscore here. The information channeling functionality is disembodied from websites and then re-embedded in smaller, more discrete experiences. That is the most interesting thing which you can see now. So the attention is shifting from metadata to full collections. That is the full text, free text, and to the discovery layers, which makes them seamless and effortless for users. So see, you have to always see from the user's perspective, because whatever new systems and services we bring into the library, we have to always see how this will be received by the users, how it will be accepted by the users. Are these services going to make any sense, or is it relevant to them? Otherwise, they are going to reject it outright. So all the work, all the efforts, all the contributions, even the money, time, even resources, all will go waste. So you have to be very careful when you are offering a service to the user community. So this is a very interesting picture. The needle in a haystack. This is the situation when it comes to abundance of resources. When resources are abundant, and you have to identify a particular pinpointed pertinent information from this deluge of information, I think we are lost. So the average user is in this kind of a situation. So how do you help him? So here is where the librarians and the library professionals and then the IT professionals who are into such excellent services with respect to information retrieval, discovery, etc., can come handy. And here is the library metaphor. So we are talking about the traditional world as well as the new world. We are talking about the traditional print-based and non-digital world meticulously blended with the digital world and effortlessly channeled through multi-gadgets, so that users don't have to worry. So according to me, the information delivery has to be as simple as possible, as easy as possible. As you breathe, you should be in a position to use what is called any of these library services, what you are channeling out, what you are pumping out from your services. If a user has to do a lot of has to pass through 10 different screens for reaching a particular service, it is very bad. If a user has to give so many credentials and login authorizations for a particular service to be reached, say 5 or 6, it is really bad. So that is why you may remember Savitraji was mentioning that we are looking for single sign-on, remote login facilities. Even if you are providing services to the remotest user, who is a bona fide user of your service, she should be in a position to access all the resources seamlessly in a single login, single sign. So that is something which I think we should all keep in mind. And the technologies part, the empowering mantras for the libraries for the 21st century will be all open. So that is where this folio as a concept is very interesting. Like the future of libraries is open. That's why I was asking that whether it has got a overarching philosophy of it is that they are envisioning that future, seeing the 50 years landscape, they feel that everything is going to be open. I think it is so. So this particular software app or software platform that they are bringing in their folio, in the name of folio, is just a beginning. That is what I could understand from Sebastian. So it's all about open access, open source softwares, open systems, and open technologies, and open science, and so many things. I have already discussed about that in my earlier presentation, that open science is actually trying to help the academics and the researchers in the entire life cycle of research. Now, let us see the strategies, systems, and services that the libraries have been using for years. Libraries has been a catalyst in imparting, creating, and preserving knowledge, no doubt about that. So libraries have been using a lot of systems and services in their services or in their operations. We always recommend a hybrid model of library services as the most desirable one, and at the same time should be at the center of research, teaching, publishing, and a center for disruptive innovation. So libraries' scope has been increasing tremendously, and we use a lot of workflows and systems, a lot of technologies, a lot of strategies for collection development, collection management, and also a lot of interfaces and relationships we maintain for in our efforts to have a seamless access to retrieval of data and information. We call it a general umbrella term, what is called discovery. So these things, these two things which I have mentioned in the last, the workflows and the interfaces can be, these process, we call it as the overall library, traditionally, overall library approach and library process is that the kind of services what we do in order to give a meaningful presence of the library, meaningful service from the library. We call it as Sadish ji. Hello. Hello. Sadish Shetty ji.
Dr. Sreekumar, I think you have host access. You can mute. You have co-host permissions. You can mute Satish. I think.
Did it happen? I did for my end also.
Yeah, now it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sadishji, for waking me up. I was actually almost lost in my. So you can actually generally term these activities as business processes and user experience. So all our efforts to bring in all those workflows in collection development, collection management, collection enrollment, and channeling of these services, etc., into the business processes. So you're bringing the whole thing in the for the inventory part of it. Whereas in the interfaces and relationship part of it's all about user experience. Whatever you have been doing, etc., how is that the user feels? Are they happy with that? Are they unhappy with that? Are they do have any specific comments on that? All these things can be there. So it comprises of budget management, collection development, metadata creation and management, collection management, and then content aggregation, systems, etc. And then the user experiences include the discovery part of it, the personalization part of it, the reuse part of it. This is a very interesting service that component that we find in recent things. You don't have to always use the same process of asking for the same passing through the same kind of pages or screens. You can reuse the service. I mean the search session once you have used it, and you can save it. And assessment and analysis. So, for example, when we want to think of whether we need to subscribe the content, this resource for the next year or not, based on usage of the usage statistics of the service or other analytics, etc., you can maintain them, you can use them. And then other than the business processes, user experience, the other set of activities what we used to do libraries to be the center of research, teaching, publishing, disruptive innovation, etc. We used to promote research support so much. Research support, research enablement, we call it in a larger umbrella. Research enablement plus research data management. It's a very interesting thing. So we have a digital scholarship workshop, we have authoring workshop, publishing workshop, publishing support, research data management, impact factor enhancement support, academic support, and OA, that is open access, open research, open science support, etc., whatever we can think of. So so that is what I'm here stopping here. I have one more component here. I will come back to you. How libraries are now in the 21st century now expanding our scope of activities, our ambit, so that we can be more relevant, more meaningful, more accountable to the community to whom we are serving. Okay, now coming to that there I am stopping the this part growth part, and I will come back to that. But now let me bring to us your kind of attention what kind of a technology architecture in the backdrop of those technologies that we have been telling. So we have interestingly the integrated library systems in general. We have the repository systems in general, and then we have the front-end library website planned here, and then we have the discovery systems so that all these content what is available has to be properly discovered, and then the special collections. So looking at the physical part of the collection, especially the books and monographs, we have planned integrated library system using Folio, and the collections management also will be using Folio, and the ERM, the electronic resource management part, will be taken by Folio, and then the knowledge base and the link resolving will be handled by Ebsco. So Ebsco link is going to give us those link resolvers for getting those URLs resolved by when the user asks for, and then the pattern interface for this library system will be undertaken by Folio, and the single sign-on facility, which was mentioned, will be provided by proxy server using Open Agents as a service, and then the interlibrary loan also will be another component. So it is all about metadata-based bibliographic metadata-based services. Coming to the repository part, we have almost all the workflow components being addressed using interesting apps, and then we are planning to use Haiku as the repository software, which is again a very interesting software, which is very much gaining ground and popularity in the US and the Western countries. So in India, this is going to be one of its kind. And in the case of Folio also, we have not heard any other library using it, but we are going to be, if we are successful in doing that, I think our idea is to share our success story with others also, how to implement and how to go about. So the repository will be having the candidates as the ETDs, that is the electronic thesis and dissertations, our digital collections. But we have two digital special collection projects in which digital objects are going to come, so that can be part of that, and digitization of materials which are not non-digital, so that also will be part of the, and then the digitization workflows also will be taken care of by the repository software. And in the front end, we have the library website, which will be set up by the content management system, open source content management system, Drupal. Then the yesterday there was so much discussion about the content curation part or content navigation part, seamless navigation facility using libguides, subject guides. But this is a commercial service. Drupal is an open source software. Folio is an open source software. Ebsco link is, of course, coming from Ebsco, so they will be charging for that. Open Events, of course, will have to pay for the service. And Haiku is open source software. Ebsco Discovery is, so for the discovery part, we have very interesting integration coming up here. The Ebsco Discovery topped up by custom discovery interfaces with Blacklight, again, open source, with the help of Bendo search facilities, Cube search facilities. So the backend data in the ILS plus the repository, supplemented with the discovery facility powered by Ebsco Discovery, put through, finally pumped into or served through the content management website, Drupal, will be the user interface. I will explain this in another in the next slide in a little more detailed way. And then we have special collections projects, as we mentioned. We have two collections, special collections as part of the library, not exactly the traditional library service, but two additional service, value-added additional service for visual learning, prompting and prompting and advocating for visual learning facilities for those who are visiting our institutions, our guests, etc. I mean, it will be definitely having its web presence and it present, so it can be accessed online also. And we will be using the system will be using the Blacklight will be using Solar search indexes of their search index. So now coming to how the platform is being integrated meticulously, we will have two different things. One is the library, geo-digital library services, and the other one is the special collection program. So the geo-digital library services will have the content and resources, which will have a combination of commercial and mostly open access. And it will also seamlessly integrate print and electronic resources. And as far as the ILS is concerned, Folio is the application used, and it will take care of circulation, cataloging, resource management, acquisitions, usage management, and system setting, whatever we can think of. And then as far as Haiku repository service is concerned, It will have the kind of archives what we can we need to run. It will also have user management, metadata deposit, as well as the batch loading of the objects, works and collection management, etc. And the metadata will be exported and received in the Ebsco Discovery um, index, and it will be facilitating full text finder, holdings data, usage consolidation, usage logging. So, all these services, different services will be taken care of by Ebsco. And also we'll have subject guides using Cube guides. And then these resources will be channeled out, will be served for open, remote access using the single sign-on open events. And I'm just for the benefit of those who are not actually Blacklight and all these things were introduced, so there is no doubt about it. But so single sign-on will be the remote login, and then Blacklight and the quick search with the help of this window-based information components. The user will have a very interesting, seamless experience in searching, accessing, and enjoying the entire vast corpus of resource available in the geo-digital collections. And then as far as the special collections and projects is concerned, we have the exhibits, physical as well as digital. Physical will be very, very minimum only, very representative only. Digital will be as much as possible. And then with the help of Spotlight as the service to have excellent display facility, inbuilt, search and display facility, and it will have the web user interface. So I think this is the kind of architecture meticulously envisaged by Savitra G and team at the guidance of Dr. Michael Keller, Tom Kramer in particular. So it's very interesting an architecture. The architecture is, I will say, scalable, extensible, future-proof, whatever we can think of, because I think it will go at least hassle-free for about 10, 15 years. And then we'll have to see whatever upgradations and whatever refreshments and, modifications or as a stray, somebody was mentioning that, every 15 years there will be a system change, platform change. I don't think that kind of a thing will happen. Of course, you have to always think of migrating and upgrading in line with the trends. For example, we know that the browser is the universal interface now. It has been the universal interface for the past 10 years, 15 years. Maybe in the foreseeable future, another 10 years, the web browser can be the most prominent interface that the human beings will be using. But we cannot say that tomorrow there can be a very path-breaking, groundbreaking interface which is coming. So at that time, we may have to, wind up all these things and scale up to those things. That's a different thing. So let's now come to how the discovery part is gaining ground. So why are people going with Google? That's a question here. So they may fail, but to get the relevant authentication, etc. So there are a lot of shifts in the approaches from the libraries, technologies, and libraries strategies with respect to the cataloging processes, that is traditional to automated to digital libraries to resource discovery techniques. So you can see here, we were using very traditional catalog systems, ASAR to LCSH, and then we have been using interesting interim methods, and now we find a lot of interesting things in the digital library. So I don't want to go into all these things, but it's very interesting to see that a lot of technologies are playing around in a very good manner. So we also find the evolutionary path here from bound catalog to cap catalog, go back to CD-ROM databases to publishers to corpus to aggregate. Now we have reached somewhere for the scale discovery. So now looking at discovery as a very interesting service, component, we find that a single point of entry to all the content and services offered by the library will be, the most enjoyable search experience. So web scale discovery service is beyond federated search. We will see what is beyond federated search and what is single search. Then federated search is like you at a single point. Yesterday, I think Mike was mentioning about this thing. That from a single search box, you send multiple queries to simultaneously on the fly to various websites, and then you bring the content and then you rank them according to the relevance, and then you get the responses. Whereas in the case of the discovery services, the model is entirely different. There is a central index, local index. There is a meta search index. So these two index catalogs, or these two databases, is where the searches are happening. And from there, jointly, the result is coming. So it is pretty obvious that discovery services is going to be, the response time offered by the discovery services is going to be way far better than federated searches because we have the two indexes already pre-built and you're searching on that. That's the reason why discovery service is always on the higher